First Contact's deception. The void between stars seemed to deepen as the U.S. Defiant cut silently through space, its titanium alloy hull absorbing, rather than reflecting the distant starlight. Captain Sarah Chen stood at the command deck viewport, her steady gaze fixed on the tactical display where 12 alien vessels formed a precise geometric pattern. The ships resembled massive crystalline structures, their surfaces gleaming with an unnatural blue-green luminescence that pulsed in synchronized rhythms. "Maintain stealth protocols," she ordered, her voice calm despite the weight of her command. Status on the Phantom system. Lieutenant Commander Ramirez looked up from his station. "Operating at 94% efficiency, Captain. We have approximately 30 minutes before thermal signatures become detectable." 30 minutes. That's all humanity had to prove that Earth wasn't just another world to be harvested. That's all they had to change the course of a war that hadn't officially begun. 7 months ago, when the Etherian fleet had first appeared at the edge of the Kuiper Belt, humanity had celebrated. First contact, the moment philosophers, scientists, and dreamers had speculated about for centuries. Earth's governments had scrambled to prepare a unified welcome, debating protocols and representation. But Admiral Marcus Wong had seen something in the aliens' approach that others had missed, a methodical efficiency that spoke not of curiosity, but of assessment. While diplomats prepared speeches, Wong had quietly initiated Project Defiant, the construction of humanity's first true warship, built not from repurposed freighters or mining vessels, but designed from the keel up for combat. The Defiant had been assembled in the shadows of Neptune's rings, crewed by personnel officially listed as casualties in training accidents or deep space exploration missions. "They're broadcasting," Communications Officer Patil announced, her fingers dancing across her console. "Same frequency pattern as the Titan colony transmission." Chen's jaw tightened. 3 weeks ago, the Etherians had reduced humanity's outpost on Titan to molecular ash. 50,000 lives extinguished without warning, their final moments captured in transmission bursts that showed the aliens' true nature. The crystalline ships had approached under pretense of cultural exchange, then unleashed weapons that distorted the fabric of reality itself. "Let's hear it," Chen said. The bridge speakers emitted a sound that wasn't quite language, more like harmonized tones layered over each other, rising and falling in complex patterns. The translation matrix struggled, rendering only fragments. Classification. Developmental Stage 3. Harvest authorization confirmed. Biomass conversion ratio estimated at 4.7 to 1. Chen exchanged glances with her first officer, Commander David Okafor. The aliens were discussing Earth like farmers deciding when to till a field. "They still haven't detected us," Okafor said, his Nigerian accent more pronounced under stress. "They have no idea we've built this ship." "That changes now," Chen replied, straightening her uniform. "Deactivate Phantom system. Bring all weapon platforms online. Power to forward shields." The massive warship shimmered into visibility less than 40,000 kilometers from the alien command vessel, a distance considered point-blank range in space combat. For 3 heartbeats, nothing happened. Then Chen watched as the alien formation broke apart in disarray, emergency thrusters flaring as they scrambled to respond. "Open a channel," Chen ordered. "All frequencies, run it through the translator matrix." When Communications Officer Patel nodded, Chen took a deep breath and spoke the words that would echo through human history, if humanity survived long enough to have one. "This is Captain Sarah Chen of the Earth Defense Vessel Defiant. You attacked our colony without provocation. You murdered our people without mercy. You believed us defenseless." She paused, watching the alien vessels frantically move into combat formations. "You were wrong." The bridge fell silent as Chen nodded to Weapons Officer Torres, who hovered her hand over the firing controls. The main batteries of the U.S. Defiant began to glow with building energy, illuminating the darkness of space like an artificial sun. "Humanity does not surrender," Chen continued, her voice steady. "Humanity does not forgive. And as you are about to learn, humanity does not die quietly." The forward batteries fired. Not energy weapons as the aliens might have expected, but hyper-accelerated tungsten rods enveloped in controlled gravitational fields that bent space-time around them. The projectiles crossed the void in seconds, tearing through the command vessel's crystalline structure before its defensive systems could respond. The alien ship didn't explode as much as it shattered, fragments spinning outward in a glittering cloud that reflected the light of distant stars. Secondary explosions rippled along its spine as atmosphere vented into space, carrying with it debris and what could only be Etherian bodies. Direct hit, Torres reported, voice barely above a whisper. Target neutralized. No human weapon had ever damaged an Etherian ship before. Until now. The alien fleet's response was immediate and furious. Space between the vessels lit up with pulses of sickly green energy, streaking toward the Defiant like angry fireflies. Brace for impact. Chen shouted as the first volley struck their forward shields. The entire battleship shuddered, lighting flickering as power was diverted to maintain shield integrity. Shields holding at 87%. Ramirez called out, almost disbelieving his own readings. Their weapons aren't as powerful as our simulations predicted. A grim smile spread across Chen's face. They've never needed to develop better weapons. None of their previous victims could fight back. The Etherians had conquered 17 worlds across this arm of the galaxy. Always the same pattern. First contact, false diplomacy, then annihilation once they'd mapped all strategic assets. Intelligence had pieced this together from fragments of data intercepted from their communications after the Titan massacre. Each civilization had fallen without landing a significant counterblow. Captain, Pidal interrupted, I'm detecting unusual communications from the alien fleet. They're transmitting to somewhere outside our sensor range. Chen felt a chill run down her spine. The intelligence briefings had warned there might be more Etherian forces nearby. Can we intercept and translate? Patil worked frantically at her station. Partial translation only. They're reporting failure. They're saying we're an impossible evolution, a deviation from the pattern. She looked up, confusion etched on her face. Captain, I think they're afraid. Chen exchanged looks with Okafor. In all the recovered records of Etherian conquests, there had never been evidence of the aliens showing fear. They had always been the apex predators of space. Until now. Captain, Ramirez interrupted, his voice suddenly urgent. I'm detecting massive energy surges from the alien fleet. They're not weapon signatures. They're creating some kind of spatial distortion. The tactical display showed the alien vessels regrouping, their engines flaring with unusual patterns that created ripples in spacetime. They're preparing to jump, Torres said, eyes wide. They're retreating. A stunned silence fell over the bridge. Humanity had expected to die here today, making their last stand. No one had anticipated the possibility of driving the enemy back. The moment of hope was shattered as alarms blared again. New contact, Ramirez shouted. Massive signature coming in from Sector 4. The view screen shifted to show a tear in space itself, a swirling vortex of energy unlike anything in human scientific understanding. From within this maelstrom emerged a vessel that dwarfed even the largest Etherian ships they'd faced so far. It was less a spacecraft and more a mobile planetoid, its crystalline surface fractal and complex, covered with what appeared to be city-sized structures and weapon emplacements that made the Defiant's main batteries look insignificant. Mother of God, someone whispered on the bridge. Chen recognized what they were seeing from classified exobiological briefings. That's their hive carrier, the command vessel for this entire sector. The smaller Etherian ships immediately changed course, forming a protective screen around the enormous newcomer. Their previous retreat had been just repositioning, making way for their supreme weapon. Shields down to 65%, Ramirez reported grimly. Hull breaches on decks 12 through 15. Weapon systems at 78% capacity. He looked up, meeting Chen's eyes. We can't take on that thing. Chen studied the tactical display, mind racing. The Defiant carried one weapon they hadn't yet deployed, Project Prometheus, an experimental device with destructive potential greater than anything humanity had previously conceived. But deploying it would require getting dangerously close to the Etherian hive carrier, and it had never been tested in actual combat. Signal engineering, Chen ordered. I need everything they've got to the engines and remaining weapons. Route life support from non-essential decks if necessary. Captain, Okafor questioned, understanding immediately what Chen was planning. That's suicide. Chen looked around at her bridge crew. These men and women had volunteered for what they believed was a one-way mission. They had already accepted their fate. The aliens are afraid, Chen said quietly. That changes everything. If we can hurt them, truly hurt them, we might buy Earth time to build more ships like the Defiant. She stood, addressing the entire bridge crew. I need to ask more of you than anyone has a right to ask. We're going to take this fight directly to them. We're going to get close enough to deliver Prometheus straight into the heart of that monstrosity. The silence that followed was deafening, broken only by the persistent alarms warning of the ship's damaged state. Then, one by one, the bridge officers nodded. Lieutenant Patel was the first to speak. For Titan, she said, voice thick with emotion. For Earth, added Torres. Chen felt a surge of pride unlike anything she'd experienced in her career. Helm, plot and intercept course. Tactical, prepare all remaining weapons and prime Prometheus. The Defiant's engines flared to life, pushing the wounded battleship toward the massive Etherian hive carrier that now dominated their view screen. As they approached, the smaller alien vessels moved to intercept, weapons charging. They're targeting our engine sections, Torres reported. They're trying to disable us, not destroy us. Chen nodded grimly. They want to study us, figure out how we were able to fight back. Her hands clenched into fists. They'll have to do it over our dead bodies. The first impacts rocked the ship as the Defiant plunged deeper into the alien formation, its remaining weapons firing continuously. They were committed now, hurtling toward either humanity's greatest victory or its most noble sacrifice. Humanity stands defiant. The U.S. Defiant shuddered as another barrage of Etherian fire found its mark. Damage reports flooded in from all sections of the ship, hull breaches multiplying, power fluctuations cascading through critical systems. Through it all, the massive human battleship continued its desperate charge toward the alien hive carrier. Engineering reports the port side engine cluster is failing, Ramirez announced, his uniform stained with sweat and blood from a cut above his eye, where a console had exploded minutes earlier. We're losing speed and maneuverability. Captain Chen gripped her command chair as the deck beneath her feet vibrated violently. The tactical display showed the Defiant surrounded by Etherian vessels, their weapons concentrating on the human ship's propulsion systems. Reroute auxiliary power to starboard engines, she ordered. Compensate with maneuvering thrusters. Commander Okafor worked frantically at his station. That will burn them out in minutes, Captain. We don't need minutes, Chen replied, her eyes fixed on the looming bulk of the hive carrier. We need seconds. The Defiant lurched forward with renewed momentum, its structural integrity groaning under the strain. On the view screen, the crystalline surface of the alien mothership grew larger, its complex geometry revealing itself in fractal patterns that seemed to bend reality around them. They're powering up something big, Torres warned. Energy readings off the charts. Before Chen could respond, a beam of concentrated blue-white energy lanced out from the hive carrier, striking the Defiant's forward shields with devastating force. The battleship bucked like a wounded animal, systems failing across all decks as the alien weapon, unlike anything they'd encountered before, tore through their defenses. Shields critical. Ramirez shouted over the cacophony of alarms. One more hit like that, and they're gone. Chen saw fear in the eyes of her crew, not for themselves, but for their mission. They had come too far to fail now. Status on Prometheus, she demanded. Torres checked his console, which flickered with power surges. Online and ready for deployment, Captain. But we need to get closer, much closer. Chen nodded grimly. Helm, set course directly for the center mass of that thing. Maximum thrust. Captain, Okafor said quietly. At that range, the Prometheus detonation will. I know what it will do, Commander. Chen interrupted, meeting his gaze. So does everyone on this ship. Understanding passed between them. The Defiant had always been a one-way mission, a sacrifice deemed necessary by Earth's leaders to buy humanity time. But now, that sacrifice might accomplish so much more. Communications, Chen called. Prepare a data packet with everything we've learned about Etherian technology and tactics. Transmit it to Earth on all available frequencies. As the Defiant accelerated toward its target, the alien vessels around them seemed to hesitate, their formation breaking as they registered the human ship's suicidal trajectory. They're pulling back, Torres observed. They don't understand what we're doing. Why would they? Chen replied. They've never encountered a species willing to sacrifice themselves rather than be harvested. The hive carrier grew enormous on their view screen, no longer firing its main weapon as the Defiant closed the distance. Instead, tractor beams lanced out, attempting to capture the human vessel. They want us intact, Paddle said, intercepting more alien communications. They're calling us anomalous and protocol-resistant. They're trying to establish a containment field. Chen allowed herself a grim smile. Good luck with that. She turned to Torres. Arm Prometheus. Set detonation for proximity trigger. The weapons officer nodded, his fingers dancing across his console. Prometheus armed. Proximity trigger set. The Defiant was now close enough to the hive carrier that its crystalline surface filled their entire view screen, a vast alien landscape of geometric perfection. Tractor beams had seized the human ship, slowing its approach as the Etherians attempted to assert control. They've got us, Ramirez reported. We're being pulled into some kind of docking bay. Chen stood from her command chair, straightening her uniform one last time as she looked at each member of her bridge crew. It has been the highest honor of my life to serve with all of you, she said, her voice steady despite the chaos around them. Today, we change the course of human history. Today, we prove that humanity will not go quietly into extinction. She turned to Torres. Override the proximity trigger. Detonate Prometheus on my mark. The weapons officer's hand hovered over his console. Ready, Captain. Chen took one last look at the alien mothership that had destroyed so many civilizations, that had believed humans were just another species to be cataloged and consumed. Mark. Torres pressed the command. For a single heartbeat, nothing happened. Then reality itself seemed to fold inward as the Prometheus device activated. Not a conventional explosion, but a controlled rupture in the fabric of space-time. The quantum singularity at its heart expanded in a perfect sphere, consuming everything it touched. The Defiant, the surrounding Etherian vessels, and a massive section of the hive carrier itself. The laws of physics bent and broke within the event horizon, matter converting to energy in a reaction that created a miniature star where once there had been ships. The remaining Etherian vessels retreated in disarray, their precise formations abandoned as they fled the expanding destruction. The light from the Prometheus detonation would take hours to reach Earth. The data packet transmitted by the Defiant would arrive sooner, carrying with it the knowledge gained in humanity's first true interstellar battle, and the sacrifice made by Captain Chen and her crew. 3 months later, in a hardened bunker beneath the Rocky Mountains, Admiral Wong stood before the assembled leaders of Earth's United Defense Council. Behind him, a holographic display showed the construction of 20 new vessels, each one incorporating lessons learned from the Defiant's brief but pivotal engagement. The Etherians will return, Wong said, his voice echoing in the cavernous chamber. But when they do, they'll find us ready. On the display, the lead ship of humanity's new fleet took shape, larger than the Defiant, more heavily armed, and bearing the name U.S. Chen on its bow. For the first time in their history of conquest, the Etherians have encountered a species that fought back, Wang continued. Captain Chen and the crew of the Defiant didn't just buy us time. They proved the Etherians can be hurt. They can be defeated. He gestured to the technical schematics scrolling alongside the shipyard imagery. Designs reverse-engineered from the data captured during the Defiant's final battle. From the ashes of the Defiant, we will build a fleet the likes of which the galaxy has never seen. And when the Etherians return, they will learn that humanity isn't just another harvest. We are the fire that burns the harvester. Wang turned to face the assembled leaders directly, his expression resolute. Humanity isn't supposed to exist, not according to their patterns, not according to their protocols. We are the anomaly they fear, and we will make sure they never forget it. In the depths of space, at the coordinates where the U.S. Defiant had made its last stand, a marker buoy transmitted a simple message on all frequencies. Here fell the first warriors of Earth, who taught the stars that humanity stands defiant. The message repeated endlessly, a challenge and a warning to any who might approach Earth with conquest in mind. A testament to the ship that wasn't supposed to exist, and a crew who had changed the course of galactic history with their sacrifice.